For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non monetary barriers. But those days are over.
It's hard to even know where to start with this. It's unbelievable. Uh, Basically, everything you're going to hear out of this video, these excerpts, is going to be nonsense. 25% tariffs or 100% nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. Absolute nonsense. This is from his talk yesterday at the White House where he announced the tariffs that caused the stock market bloodbath today. And I don't know if you heard what he said, but he's basically saying that we have been treated so badly by the rest of the world. We've been treated so unfairly by the rest of the world. We've been taken advantage of by the rest of the world. And it sounds good. If it were true, he'd have a great point. But the fact is, it's simply not true. How is it we've been taken so advantage of and we've been treated so badly and people have stomped on us and they've stolen from us and they've done all these terrible things, and yet we're still the richest economy in the world. We're the largest economy in the world by far. You could take several of the other, largest economies, excluding China, and put them together, and we're larger than them combined. We're larger than China. I mean, we've been treated so horribly that we have to enact these tariffs where, I mean, I don't even know what to make of it. When Biden was president and the price of eggs went up $1 a carton, they went ballistic. They were all over the place screaming and shouting, "This is horrible. This is the worst run economy ever." And today, in a single day, millions of Americans lost anywhere between 5 and 15%, some a little more, some a little less, but on average between 5 and 15% since yesterday of the value of their savings, any savings they have in the stock market, their 401k plans, their retirement plans, lost a huge amount in one day. You could buy millions of cartons of eggs for what, a handful of families lost today. This doesn't compare to the cost of eggs rising by a couple of dollars. And you know what they're saying? They're like, oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. Literally nothing. Millions of families have lost tens of thousands of dollars today. It's nothing. But lose $1 on eggs under Biden, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. Unbelievable. Anyway, I wanted to play a few excerpts from his talk yesterday just to show what nonsense it really is. And hopefully maybe it'll give a little clarity into his thinking and or lack thereof. But just I don't even know how to say it, but the education level of these people is, I mean, they shouldn't be anywhere near where they are. They're at the highest rungs of power, and they're completely ignorant to what to what makes this economy run. And now they're flapping around these giant tariffs, which could destroy the world economy. It's unbelievable. Let's listen to what he said after this.
Until today, the United States has for decades charged a 2.5 tariff. Think of that, 2.5% on foreign-made automobiles. The European Union charges us more than 10% tariffs, and they have 20% VATs, much, much higher.
All right, let me just address that because the EU put out a statement back in February, a couple of months ago now, on this very subject. Apparently they knew this was coming. Yeah, they do charge 10% tariffs on cars, on all cars that we might sell to them. We charge 2.5% tariff on most cars, but interestingly, on the one type of vehicle that is sold more in America than any other type of vehicle, do you know what it is? We have a 25% tariff. So on pickup trucks, which is 1/3 of the American automobile market, far outstripping any other type of vehicle. We have a 25% tariff on pickups, 2.5% on everything else, but 25% on the one type of vehicle that some foreign uh, car maker may want to get into the market for. And they can't get into the market. So it limits competition. Those Ford F-150s are outrageously expensive. And why not? There's no competition. So this is now we're going to look forward to that type of pricing coming to all kinds of different products now.
I don't blame these other countries at all for this calamity. I blame former presidents and past leaders who weren't doing their job. They let it happen.
Yeah, honestly, I really wonder how much of this is just his way of saying, I'm better than all the past presidents. How much of this is motivated by his desire to prove that he can make better deals than other presidents? These other presidents, whatever deals they made, they haven't been bad for our country because, like I say, we are the wealthiest nation on earth. And we have the largest economy on earth, and per capita, for a large country, we're the wealthiest nation on earth.
And they let it happen to an extent that nobody can even believe. That's why, effective at midnight, we will impose a 25% tariff on
Disaster, absolute disaster.
all foreign-made automobiles.
And the ignorant masses applaud. It's unbelievable. Well, that was yesterday. We didn't know what the effect would be on the stock market then, but we do now. 1,500 point loss on the Dow Jones, 5% loss on the NASDAQ, huge losses on the S&P. It was a bloodbath, a literal bloodbath on Wall Street today. Now, this next part, and this is the last part I'm going to do, but this is the most revealing thing, really, of all. And I just listen to this for a minute.
Brian, I'd like to have you come up here for a second, okay? I just see him sitting. He's been a fan of ours, and he understands this business a lot better than the economists, a lot better than anybody. Brian, say a few words, please, would you? Thank you, Mr. Thank you. It's great.
All right, so here you have an auto worker. He works on the factory floor, and he understands this business better than anybody, Trump says, better than real economists. It's unbelievable. Now, let's listen to Brian talk, and then I want to ask a few questions about Brian's knowledge and see where he's really at on all this.
Honored to have you.
I have watched my entire life, I have watched plant after plant after plant in Detroit and in the metro Detroit area close. There are now plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized.
So because he's seen plants close and that he knows there are plants sitting idle, he's an expert on tariffs. He's an expert on economics. It's unbelievable. He's gone to the School of Hard Knocks, and this is his education. It's from real life. What more do you need? What more do you need to know? You're sitting there working in an auto factory, and you know plants that are closed and they're sitting idle. What more could you possibly need to know whether or not tariffs, like extreme tariffs, are the best solution to that problem?
And Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built.
Now, how does he know? Oh, sorry. How does he know that it's going to bring back these plants? And I can't remember if he said it right here or if he's going to say it in a minute. But he says within 6 months to a year, all of this will be humming along and everything will be percolating and everything will be great in the auto industry in the United States because of the tariffs. It's unbelievable.
So, Mr. President, we can't thank you enough. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to begin to see the benefits. I can't wait to see what's happening 3 or 4 years down the road. Thank you, Mr. President.
You know, you don't even have to be an educated economist, which I am certainly not, to know that none of this is going to happen within 6 months to a year or even 3 or 4 years. It will take a decade. It would take literally a decade to bring the entire manufacturing process of the auto industry back into the United States and to keep it, all of it, where it's all here, none of it's overseas. And if you do that, what you're going to end up with are more poorly made cars that will cost more. This is what he's talking about, would actually create a permanent price increase on automobiles. Why? Because they will never be able to be made as efficiently in any single nation, whether here or China or anywhere, as they can be made by sourcing work and labor and resources from lots of other countries, from the best, get each thing from the best place you can. You can get labor from Mexico much cheaper than here, but skilled, then get it from Mexico. You can get, steel from Japan, or I don't know, wherever, we get steel from. But you get it cheaper and it's better steel, then get it from there. The reason the manufacturing process has worked out the way it has is because private companies, which Republicans used to, respect, private companies have made decisions based on their well-being about the best way to source their products, based on their well-being, which, trickles down to what's best for the customer. And that's why it's worked out this way. That's why the trade goes back and forth between Mexico and the U.S. and Canada for making cars. Now, I looked up the Smoot-Hawley Act. I looked up a little bit about, past tariffs. So, like I say, I'm not an economist, but you don't have to be to really understand these simple things. One of the things I found out was in 1930, the United States implemented the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, hoping to protect American workers. Instead, sorry, instead, it helped trigger a 66% decline in world trade. In 1984, we tried again with steel tariffs intended to protect steelworker jobs from foreign competition. As a result, great news, 5,000 steel jobs were saved. But bad news, 26,000 jobs were lost in other industries that use steel because the cost of steel had gone up so much. And that it led to the total cost of saving these jobs was approximately $113,000 a year. And this was at a time when auto workers were earning $24,000 a year. So it costs more than 5 times as much to save an auto worker's job as the auto worker was paid. In other words, it didn't work out. Tariffs didn't work. They had the exact opposite effect of what was intended. So we know from history they don't work. But you might have to consult an economist to find that out. If you consult a factory floor worker, he may be able to tell you that the factory next door is closed and the space is sitting idle, but he may not be able to tell you the history of the ineffectiveness of tariffs. Do you really think he knows that? So he's not qualified. That doesn't qualify him as someone you would look to for advice on whether or not to institute tariffs. But if you're someone like the president who has no more idea than the factory floor worker, you don't even know that he's not qualified to give advice on the subject. So in the end, you have the blind leading the blind, and no one even knows they're blind. But when the blind lead the blind, even if they're very well intentioned, they're eventually going to smash into a wall. So the scary truth is that what our president is doing right now with tariffs could lead to the complete destruction of the global economy. What he's done is he has thrown the equivalent of a nuclear bomb into the middle of the most resilient economy on earth. We were doing better than any other country on earth for the last 4 years. Yeah, we had higher inflation than we would have liked, but it was lower than everybody else. We had the strongest, most resilient economy on earth, and he has just thrown a nuclear bomb right into the middle of it. I mean, it's just so sad to see somebody for no reason just go out and recklessly destroy something that was so good. But my advice to Europe and Canada and all our allies, all our former allies, is Don't let this guy get away with it. Come out swinging, and come out swinging hard, and come out swinging now. Put the put the brakes on this. You raise your tariffs, whatever you have to do. Make this extremely painful for the United States. And I'm sorry to have to say that. But if we don't make it painful now, it's going to be far more painful later when the whole world goes into a deep depression like the 1930s. And that's what will happen. If you guys, if Europe and Canada and, Japan and Australia and all our former friends, I mean, they're friends to me, but apparently they're no longer friends of the United States, unfortunately. But if you guys come out swinging and you fight this with all you've got, even I know you'll have to sacrifice too, but that's the only way we're going to stop it. Because if this blows up in his face, like it will if you do come out swinging, the political pressure alone is going to be enough to end it, because you will have people calling their congressman off the hook every day, bitterly complaining, you got to stop the tariffs, you got to stop the tariffs. And the only way they will stand up to this president is if they feel the pressure from back home. And Canada, Mexico, Europe, Asia, all of you have a part to play in this. You can make them feel the pressure from back home by raising your tariffs and making it harder for us to export our goods. And hopefully all of this will end really soon. And, I don't want to, I don't want anyone to misunderstand me and think I'm saying this because I want to destroy the American economy. Of course I don't. I'm saying this to save it. This is like a war that breaks out in Europe. Say the Russians attack a Western European country, say like Ukraine, perhaps. And let's say we go in and we fight them off, and then they have to go back to where they came from. They're not going to try that again. But if we don't do that, and if we back down eventually and say, you know what, Russia, we're tired of fighting. We don't want to, we're stingy. We don't want to give any money anymore to help Ukraine. So go in and take what you want. Well, they're not going to stop there. Same with tariffs. If these other countries come in and fight it and raise their tariffs, even though it'll hurt them too, then you'll have a chance of stopping us before it gets much, much worse. I hate to say this, but in economics right now, we are Russia. We're Russia throwing a bomb in the middle of everything. And the rest of the world is Ukraine. So Ukraine, you got to fight back, okay? Take the example of the real Ukraine and fight back with all you got, all right? Hey, thanks for watching, and let's pray things get better. And let's pray America repents and America turns to God. All right. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, like. And if you'd like to hear more, like it, subscribe. All right. Talk to you next time.